Hello, it's Uncle Don here. I'm going to talk to you about politics and religion and some interesting things what I thought about when I considered politics and religion. They're some of my favourite subjects to study. For the first reason is when I was sold my soul. And there was the old man's voice, what was supposed to be the voice of God as I said it. And he says to me that I was another lamb. At the time I didn't realise what was going on. I was a 12-year-old kid, I had no idea. So I just thought of... didn't think much of it at all because I used to sniff a lot of glue, and hallucinations and stuff was not something unusual to me, and hearing voices and stuff was not something that was really unusual. I mean, some of the things I saw when I was sniffing glue or petrol and that was pretty immersive. I mean, I was just totally immersed in those hallucinations, and it's you don't even think for a minute that it's not real because you're so immersed in it, and most of the time it's very unreal. I mean, it can't happen, but it's sort of like being in a dream sort of state. That when you're sniffing glue, you go into convulsions. So in your mind when you're hallucinating, it's like you're in a dream-like state. It's very damaging to your brain. Don't go out and try and sniff glue. It's a very damaging. You'll probably see with me, I've got stutters and all sorts of problems from using drugs to try and deal with what life dealt up to me. So it's important to try and look after your brain. If you look after your brain, you may be in a position to make a difference in the world with what you learn and how you relate to other people. But once you get so damaged in that, you just have to start talking to some people, and they will just make up their mind that you've got some kind of delusion or some kind of issue that's going to get in the way of you being able to communicate any ideas that you have effectively. But anyway, some of the ideas what I came up with for while I was reading today, was people in America is getting really annoyed with politics, saying that politics has removed God from the world. This lady said, or a couple of people said it. I said that, but because of government, God is removed from society. And as soon as I read that, I thought, what? That's just ridiculous. And the more I thought of it while I was walking to the grocery, get some shopping, I was walking and I was thinking about what I'd read, and I thought, when you have this kind of dualism, say we're introduced to it in the Bible. We've got good and evil. So you got good and evil, and but when it comes to having good and evil, that's two opposing things. That's opposition. That's good and evil. They're opposing, and with this good and evil, you need to employ a mediation. So this is as an overcoming factor between this opposition. We're going to need to include a mediation for the sake of and what I see that there's a system, political systems in place for it's all about opposition. So even marketing or finances, all that is opposition. You're going to have this opposition to for it to function. And I looked into the meaning of the word Satan, and Satan means opposition. So it's opposition. So Well, we can read into scriptures with this in mind and come up with some revelations, or we can reveal stuff for ourselves that makes sense to us. And it's important not to try and force other people to believe in what you believe in, but just to put what you learned, put it on the table, so that people can. It's like going to a feast, mate. Put what you think on the table. If somebody likes it, they might pick at it and take a little bit of it and add it to their philosophy, or for add it to what they've learned. So yeah, when we have this good and evil, or any kind of opposition, like someone commits a crime against us, we have that opposition. You're going to be in opposition to that crime happening again, not only to yourself but to other people as well. So when we have that, and we need to employ a mediator. We can choose to mediate with a gun and just kill that opposition, or we can choose to overcome it. And I think that when you go to shoot the opposition, and then the opposition gains ground. It's like there's an inhumanity that's happened against them. It's like somebody got shot just for believing in evil. Like Satan's God. They got shot just because they thought Satan was God. And it might not have been an evil person, but somebody who was just impressed by this ideal because of oppression. That they were impressed by this ideal because they were oppressed by an opposing by the opposition. So there's this rebellion that people may feed into. Rebellion's not a bad thing. It's like a brainstorming of ideas. You're going to have ideas for to improve the way that things are run. But yeah, in politics, we're going to need a mediator as well. And I think that politics uses the population as their mediation, and with our being able to mediate between the parties, we say what we want, and there's also the mandatory thing of infrastructure, and we'll have an infrastructure that's going to include some kind of conditioning or education, conditioning along with education and other choices that or platforms that we can employ to make the choices we want to make, where we can make choices. So people are saying that they don't like the government. The government's ripping them off. They have to pay tax. You have to get government approval, and you can't do this without government. You can't do that without government. But these things have come into place because of a reason, and a lot of it's got to do with the law and the opposition. When we have opposition in place because some people don't do things safely. So I'll go for a drive along the road. I see somebody's not doing something safely. I can swear at them, and I could run them off the road. I could even stop and drag them out the car and take the keys off them and say, "You're not driving anymore." But it's not my place to do that, because I could probably be unfair about it, because that person may have had no choice but to cut me off, and I have to. I just have to bear it, or I have to I have to grace that. I have to let that happen, so that the flow, there's a flow, like it's a tolerance. I need to be able to tolerate some things on the road, That's not going. And it's the same with government. We've got to have to tolerate some things so that we get to the point where the majority's needs are met. So yeah. But this is all sort of stuff that's just coming into my mind. But the original thing what was on my mind was that government or politics, everything politics. There's not somebody said everything that politics touches, it destroys. And I thought, well, you know what? Every time there's opposition, we have the opportunity to refine what we follow, and that's like the fire. You know, the opposition is fire, and it's refining. It's a great refiner. Fire is probably the best refiner there is. It's the greatest cleaner there is. It turns everything to charcoal. But fire will bringing light to something. Like when you put your what you've cooked up what you've cooked up on the table, you put it through the fire first to be sure that you're not just coming up with some crackpot ideas, you know. So yeah, there's a lot we can call the light. We can put a little light on things, and it's unfortunate that, at least in my life, that there's been a lot of things that have gone by where people can't tell me anything or can't talk to me, and it's sad. It's sad that people wants to take what I said as anything more than something that I said out of an opinion. It's like people's just using what I said as the word of God, and it's like you know what, that voice might have called me a lamb, but as sure as I'm sitting here talking to you, you can bet that I'm not. I'm actually a person with feelings, a person that was born, a person who was born from parents who loved them, and who wanted to have a family and enjoy everything that the world had to offer. My parents were good. They did a lot for me and my sister, but there's some things that happened that changed all that, and I'm just really disappointed in people in general for thinking that I'm going to back them up in this foolishness that they call their what they're trying to use me to justify. And although politics and religion and that, so some people might think, you know, politics and religion, it's all some kind of thing. Religion's a part of the politics, just controlling people, and they can't do this and they can't do that. And but there's through these laws and the rebellion against them, there is reason, and we need to be able to see those reasons. I mean, when I was young, it was like, oh, I'll smoke weed. Yeah, I'll smoke weed. I'll do it wherever I like. And I used to get my pipe out and I smoke cones whenever I want, except if there was coppers around, they're going to take it. So it was, I'll get my pipe out, I smoke anywhere. I didn't give a shit I didn't care who was watching me or who knew or anything. I was like, I am practicing my right. It's my right to do what I want. I'm enjoying my life. Leave me alone. And with that mentality, I progressed to other drugs, and I had no respect for my body. I put my body through a hell of a lot of stress. I made myself put myself in a position where I was unable to fight people off of taking advantage of me, and I didn't have the mentality. I didn't have the brain. My brain wasn't working well enough to be able to make proper decisions concerning my welfare. my future, and there's a lot of people who took advantage of that, and I don't think I'm really bitter about it, or at least I hope I'm not bitter about it, but I certainly don't try to include those people in my life that much, if I can at all, if I can. But it can be a lonely place when you're not so smart, and you're always thinking people's going to be taking advantage. The people's only nice to you when they want something. People uses you. I get it all the time. But is that going to change who I am? Because if I was to clam up and turn around and say to people, no, I am not going to help you, go away. It's like, if I was to do that to everybody, how hard do I make myself, and how much do I destroy of what I've become? Because I'm pretty happy with who I am. I'm off drugs since 2005. I don't smoke. I don't. There's a lot of things that I'm proud of in my life, and one of them was going to church and making the changes and the adjustments to my life that needed to be made for me to be able to enjoy the life that I have now. And the world is changing with this coronavirus, and people are also saying about it being a load of rubbish, and it's just more reason to try and control people and make them stay at home, and that this virus is being put out of proportion. Like some people are saying, in 1 minute people is dropping dead on the street in China, and the next minute there's a lockdown everywhere and nobody's allowed to change countries and everything. But in the precedence to that, we had Hong Kong and China had problems, and Hong Kong, China was trying to make it so that they could extradite criminals from Hong Kong to China to face the courts. Now, I think that at first I thought that had a lot to do with where why this virus is, and why we can't go out. And then people were saying about 5G or tracking people on 5G, and somebody else is even, people are saying that when we get the vaccine that it's going to have tracking nano things in it for travel in your blood, that will be able to determine your blood flow, what's in your blood. There's a lot of things that they can do with technology, but I think why would we be worried about that if we're not doing the wrong thing? It's the same as why would we would be worried about having to stay home unless we had to go out to do business. It's like if you have to go to somewhere to be able to sell something, then you're going to be a bit distressed about people telling you that you can't, that you have to stay in one place and you have to lock down and you're not allowed to do that anymore. I think that it's my idea is that people are going to get annoyed with that. They're going to have rebellions. They're going to be like marches, which have already started, and I think that with these marches and stuff, they will get more and more violent, particularly in places where guns are readily available, and that these people will do these marches in the city, and that they will leave the cities. Eventually, they will leave the cities, and they will go to places, or they'll go to places where they have like a fort where they're armed to the teeth, and they've got bunkers and weapons and ammunition and ground that they can work with for their own interests or whatever, their own, that looks like these doomsday preppers, but they're similar to that, but they're preparing for like a civil war, I guess. And seeing that China's got the most powerful military that there is, especially foot soldiers, I think that people are going to rely on their being able to police things if they get too serious. We're going to want to go too far ahead where there's a one world government. That's inevitable. That's going to be normal. You have to expect that, a one world government, and the more transparent that it is, the more backing it's going to get, and I think that's going to be key here, is transparency, honesty, and being able to be tracked. If everybody's able to be tracked, then you can't hide from anyone. You can't hide anything from anyone. You've got to leave a trail of cash. No, I'm not sure cash is going to go far, but we're going to have some kind of a trail that you leave behind you. So you're going to be able to be. But yeah, that maybe that's a little bit too far in the future, and maybe even a little bit far-fetched. I mean, I have got schizophrenia, and it's very easy for me to be delusional, and I may be delusional on many levels, and these hallucinations about people taking advantage of this old man's calling me another lamb when I sold my soul. It was, I say sold my soul, but because I don't think it was really my soul. I think it's just an initiation process, what's used for some cult, probably something like that, Aleister Crowley or whatever. Who knows how many cults he's got going with because of whatever he's got going there. But he was certainly an influential person in the magical realms of the world. So I think I've talked about a lot of things already. There's still more I could talk about. What's been on my mind, especially with delusions and people taking advantage of. I had a light on my balcony got stolen by one of my neighbours. It puzzles me about because I live in a housing SA unit, or public housing, and it puzzles me why other people who live in public housing, or anyone at all, would want to take anything from somebody else who's got next to nothing. I've always thought of, I've pretty much thought of stealing as like a Robin Hood thing. You take from they would steal from the rich and give to the poor. I mean, because I don't smoke and I don't take drugs, it's like I'm not poor. I'm on government benefits, but I'm trying to be as independent as I can. But it's not a big deal. It's not something that's really important to me to be independent, because I'm just looking for something to do. I worked in a factory for years, and working in a factory wasn't wasn't a good place for me to be, especially because working like a robot type thing, where you get told you have to do something a certain way, you have to do it this way, and it's dysfunctional as it was. A lot of the time I seemed to feel like I was being messed around, or being told to do things, go around in circles. It didn't make sense to me a lot of the time why they had to do it this way, why it had to be like that, other than it was just to keep us busy. And working in a disability workshop, that's pretty much all it's about. It's about keeping people busy, keeping them active, keep their minds active, their hands active, keeping them occupied. There was a few people who used to go there who, it didn't seem to me like it was any more than some kind of babysitting for them. Not to say babysitting, but some kind of activity centre where they got shifted from here to there to do what they would have been doing there anyway, which is pretty much next to nothing. The productivity of some people is pretty low, I guess. But yeah, it's easy to be more reasonable about it now than it was then, because when I worked there, it was like some of these people don't clean up after themselves in the toilet. They don't clean up after themselves after they've eaten or anything like that, and the hygiene levels are low, and it's a challenge to be able to work there. When there's some really good people there, people who does their best to who do their best, and then there's other people who's just like lazy, they don't care. There's a big joke that they're only there because they have to be there. They're not interested in being productive. It's like they're forced to go there, and they cause trouble wherever they go, but they've unloaded them there for the day so they can cause trouble there. And I guess that's something that's prevalent throughout. It's something that happens throughout the world and society. People don't want to get involved in anything that's going to help. They don't want to get involved in anything where they're going to be used to make money for somebody. They think, oh well, yeah, they get this big attitude, like this capitalism. It's like I should be able to just do what I want and just run amok in the infrastructure that's here. And it's like there's a lot of people who made sacrifices for this infrastructure to be here. Like the schools, the shopping, the shops, the business, everything. There's people who sacrificed their lives for this infrastructure to be here, and they did it with the vision of people being able to reach their full potential. With some people, their full potential is to be somebody who imports cocaine straight from the cook, straight from the labs in the mountains of Ecuador, or wherever they have it over there, Peru. From the mountains of Peru, they get the cocaine straight from there for something like 2 cents a gram, and they make like 600% profit. That's their full potential, of them is like, and the rest 6,000% profit. But to some people, that's their full potential. They'll reach their full potential when they're able to make those kind of profit margins without actually having to do any work. And that's pretty much what they boast about, is not having to do any work to get where they go, and to put themselves on the same level as a politician or it's one of these other people who's see that politicians, they don't just get born politicians, they become politicians, and it can be a bit of a closed book when it comes to becoming when you become a politician. You may be able to say, well, you couldn't have done it unless you did good business with people. I mean, you're going to be there wouldn't be many crack dealing politicians, but probably some politicians that maybe they did dabble in something like that, but soon realised that it was going to limit their choices. And I think that's what a lot of people get annoyed about, especially rebellious people, is because their choices have been really limited by their record and their choices that they made in the past. That their choices for the future is very limited. They seem to want to turn to the younger generation to use their ideas for quick money making on a clean record. So yeah, I don't know a lot about that. Of course, I'm not much of a legal, but they're just ideas that's coming off the top of my head. And it will be interesting to see what will happen when it comes to the mark of the beast. I don't know, some other people said about these tracking devices to be like a mark of the beast. And the way I understand it, Jesus is the lamb, and a lamb is a beast. So yeah, Jesus is the beast I allow to call himself my God. If he chooses to, it's totally his grace. If he wants to accept that what I've said, then he's free to do that, and I will absolutely give Jesus a ticket out of this dualism that people use to profiteer and to control people. It's a pretty big mess. A matter of fact, I don't see how they're going to be able to stop that, but I assume that they're going to have to, because of the world's ability to sustain the amount of human life there is. Something's going to have to give at some point, and the way I understand it is, it won't be the crack dealers or the people who's making the cocaine in Peru that's or the people who's selling it in this city is going to be part of the potential we have to go into space and find another place to live, or wait for the world to become habitable again. That's even people saying that they want to give Mars an atmosphere. But a lot of this sort of stuff, are you really sure you're going to be able to interstellar? I mean, it's one thing to be able to travel to Mars. Yeah, 6 months there, 6 months back. That's a year. But that's not all that difficult. I mean, to sail from Britain to Australia took that long when they were bringing convicts out here at the turn of the century, and they couldn't take much with them apart from what they could fit on the boat. That's not like, because stopped many places that along the way, apart from, there's probably a few places, but yeah, they were at sea for a long time. And but interstellar travel, I really think that this is going to be a challenge for people to be able to travel to another star system, to another solar system. I mean, the nearest one, I think, is Alpha Centauri, is the nearest star, and that's not suitable because the star there is too hot, I think, or it's too cold, or I can't remember, but it's there's we need to, for there to be a planet that can sustain life, as I understand it, we need to have a sun that's like our sun at the stage, a star that's in the at the stage our star sun is. So yeah, it's all stuff to think about. Anyway, I'm glad that you decided to listen to me today, and next time, I'm not sure what I'll talk about next time, but no doubt it'll be something interesting that comes to mind, and I hope that you will tune in then to hear what I've got to say. Thank you.